He's one member of the group of artists known as the Kaepernick 7, but for a few days in East Point, he's getting a show entirely focused on his work.
His name is Craig Singleton, and he likes to go by Flux. He was recruited to create new murals of Colin Kaepernick. The original mural was destroyed just before the Super Bowl in Atlanta. The GoFundMe to help make new murals raised more than $11,000, and now Flux, as his own show called Heavy Clouds, is on display at the ArtsXchange. We talked to him about the inspiration for his work.
My inspiration comes from life experiences, but my observation of all those things. The stuff that I think about is dealing with relationships, dealing with my own thought process, how I view this world, you know what I'm saying, how I view society, the different styles and things that I use. People may connect them to cartoons, people may connect them to comic strips, people may connect them to comic books even, and graffiti as well.
Flux says that this exhibit features his signature use of African-American themes that encompass the struggle, the beauty, and the humor of the culture. And it runs through January 18th. He's also hosting an Artist Talk one-on-one. That's coming up on Saturday.
Beautiful work.